Hola, hola amigos, ¿cómo están? I am going to do with you a pretty quick review of the preterito y el imperfecto. This is just going to be the conjugations. Just to review those, the regular and irregular endings for both preterite and imperfect, so that we can then go on and use the preterite and the imperfect with a little project. So please just copy down the endings and any of the examples that I write down and any additional notes. And as I go along, it would be great also if you just jotted down any questions that you might have. You don't forget to ask me in class next time. Okay, so we're starting out with the preterite, el preterito, and on the upper left-hand side of your notes, you see AR endings and then ER and IR endings, and that is because the ER and IR endings are exactly the same in the preterite. So just like the present tense, you would take whatever your verb happens to be and cut off your ending. So for example, if we had hablar, you would cut off the AR and would be left with habl, Habl, as your stem. And then your AR endings are going to be A, aste, O, amos, aron. That's A-R-O-N. Messy handwriting. And we'll skip the vosotros. Okay, and then same thing if you had an ER-IR verb. You're going to take your whole verb, cut off your ending, and you're left with the stem, which would be vive in this case. And then ER and IR endings are E, iste, io, imos, ieron. And you can see the yo and the LA usted have acentos, so that's important to remember. And then as you remember, I'm sure you have your Kargazar verbs. So Kargazar verbs are all AR verbs that end in either kar, gar, or zar. And spelling changes are going to take place in the yo form only. So that just means that the rest of the conjugations are going to take regular AR verb endings. So just the yo form is going to be irregular. And just a little note down here, AR and ER verbs do not have stem changes. So only IR verbs are going to be stem changing verbs. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here, guys. It's the end of the day. Okay. So we've got ir, ser, dar, and ver. These are the verbs that we call completamente irregular. They're completely irregular. They do not follow any patterns. They are a pain in the butt to remember because of that, but we use them very frequently, so I'm sure you'll have no problem recognizing them. So I just want to write what they mean really quick. We've got to go, to be, to give, and to see. That rhymes. All right, ir and ser conjugations. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, and fueron. And ir and ser have the same exact conjugation in the preterite. Dar would be di, diste, dio, dimos, and dieron. And then the good news is ver and dar are exactly the same, except ver starts with a V and dar starts with a D. So this one will be vi, viste, vio, vimos, and vieron. And the other awesome thing about these is there are no accents, no I acentos. Okay, moving right along. We've got stem changing verbs. So like I said a little earlier, AR and ER verbs in the past tense are never stem changing verbs. They are only IR verbs. So IR verbs are only the ones that are going to take a stem change. And not all IR verbs are stem changing verbs, just some of them. So this is not the complete list, but this is many of them. Since they're IR verbs, obviously they're going to take regular IR verb endings. And there are two options for the way that they're going to change. It's either going to change eat I or ODU. And they only change in the third person, singular and plural. So that means el ea usted and ellos, ellas, ustedes. So what I want to do with this list is circle where they're going to change and then also write what they mean. So excuse my messy handwriting in this small space. We've got conseguir, to get or obtain, divertirse is to have fun, repetir is to repeat. And remember when there are two T's in the stem like that, so if I get rid of this IR, I'm left with repete, and there are two E's there. So it's always going to be the second E whenever there are two E's. All right, vestirse is to get dressed. Preferir, there's another one of those two E, double E words. To prefer. Seguir is to continue or follow. Sentirse is to feel. Now you see sentirse and you say, that has two E's in it. Why don't I do the second E? But the answer is because that E is in the ending of the verb, right? It's reflexive. So really there's only one E in the stem. All right, servir to serve. And pedir is to order or ask for. Okay, muy bien. So those are all of the verbs that change from E to I in the preterite. And these are our ODU verbs. So we've got dormir, morir, and dormirse. So to sleep, dormirse, to fall asleep. And our depressing morir, to die. Okay, muy bien. Moving right along, you have two different kinds of special stem verbs. We have what we call the elephant verbs, los elefantes, and then you have a list of these J verbs. So they're all under the category of special stem because they all have, you guessed it, special stems. But the good news is all of their endings are the same. Stop using red. I'm bored with red. All right, so we've got A, viste, O, imos, and hierron. So it's easiest to think of the endings if you think of an example. So in my head, I was just going estuve, estuviste, estuvo, estuvimos, estuvieron. That's just what works for me. All right, so I want to write the stems over here. So what's going to happen is these verbs will start with the special stem, and then the endings are added to that special stem. So we've got estuv, tuv, is, and then remember, hacer does that weird iso in the LAO usted form. Poner is pus, venir vin, andar is anduv, Querer is quis. Saber is soup. Looks like sup. And poder is pood. I think we got them all. And no hay acentos. So no accents on these to worry about. So essentially you're taking the stem and adding the endings. Okay, same thing with the J verbs, but there's one change from these endings to these endings. You got it. I'm sure you guys are all guessing in your heads or pointing or just thinking about the answer. And that is that the ellos, ellas, ustedes form changes from ieron up there to eron. The rest are the same, and just like above, there are no accents. So let's write our stems down here. Now these are called J verbs, obviously, because the stems all have a J. Kind of hard to say without any of the endings, but it would be like di, tra, condu, tradu, and produ. All right, awesome. So just like those, you take the stem, add the endings. Okay. Lastly, for el preterito, you've got I to Y verbs. So our I to Y verbs are sort of like stem changing verbs, only in that the bottom two are the ones that are going to change. But now instead of changing the stem, my ending is what's going to take a spelling change. So normally these bottom endings would be io and ieron, right? But don't write that down because it's not what it is with I to Y verbs. So I'm still going to have these top verbs with er and ir endings. But now the bottom one changes to yo and yeron. So they both have y's, which is why they're called I to Y verbs. And I just wanted to jot these examples down for you because these are all verbs that change from I to Y. So we'll just fill in the meanings. To read, to build, to fall, destruir, to destroy, creer, to believe, and incluir, to include. All right, I keep hitting that box, sorry guys. So just to give you an example, I'll do layer. So we've got lei, leíste, leyó, leímos, and leyeron. Okay, beautiful. And actually layer is going to get some accents where you wouldn't normally see accents, but not all I to Y verbs do that. Let's not get into that in this lesson. Okay, you've got one more page. Oops, okay. Let's do some purple. Okay, so el imperfecto. And we're not going to worry right now about when to use the preterite and when to use the imperfect because believe me, we will get deep into that soon. So right now, I just want to worry about conjugating. All right, so let's see. You've got AR imperfect endings. Those are aba, abas, aba, abamos, and aban. ER and IR are ia, ias, ia, íamos, and ian. And then the verb ir, iba, ibas, iba, íbamos, and iban. Ser is going to be era, eras, era, éramos, and eran. And then one more, veía, veías, veía, veíamos, and veían. So the good news is, whereas the preterite has a lot of irregulars, the imperfect only has these three. The rest of them are going to take regular AR and ER and IR endings. And then there's just one little verb, había, to remember. That comes from haber. Kind of talked about that verb from the present tense packet. There is or there are in the present tense was I. So I just wanted to show you that this is the past tense way of saying there was or there were, is había, which is in the imperfect technically. Okay, I think that's all I have for you for today. So please come and ask me any questions you have about any of this stuff tomorrow, and we can go over it. Thanks, guys. See you later.